Robert John Maudsley, born June 26, 1953, is an English serial killer responsible for the murders of 4 people. He committed 3 of these murders in prison after receiving a life sentence for a single murder. He was alleged to have been eaten part of the brain of 3 men he killed in prison, which earned him the nickname Hannibal the Cannibal among the British press, and the Brain Eater amongst the prisoners. However, the Press Complaints Commission records that national newspapers were subsequently advised that the allegations were untrue, according to the autopsy report. Since the death of Ian Brady, Maudsley had become the longest-serving British prisoner and the earliest person still living to be subject to a whole life order. In his early life, Robert Maudsley was one of 12 children born in the Speck estate on the outskirts of Liverpool, spending his early years in a Catholic orphanage in Crosby. At the age of 8, Maudsley was received by his parents and subjected to routine physical abuse, and he was eventually removed from their care by social services. Maudsley later claimed that he was raped as a child, and such early abuse may have left him deep psychological scars. During the late 1960s, a teenage Maudsley worked as a rent boy in London to support his drug addiction. He was forced to seek psychiatric help after several suicide attempts. It was during his talk with doctors that he claimed to hear voices telling him to kill his parents. He is quoted saying, "If I had killed my parents in the 1970s, none of these people would have died." In 1974, Maudsley garroted John Farrell in Woodland Green, London. Farrell picked up Maudsley for sex and showed him pictures of children he had sexually abused. Maudsley was arrested later, sentenced to life imprisonment with a recommendation never to be released. Maudsley was sent to Broadmoor Hospital, where in 1977 he and another inmate, David Cheeseman, locked themselves into a cell with the 3rd patient named David Francis, a convicted child molester, torturing him to death over a period of 9 hours. After this incident, Maudsley was convicted of manslaughter and sent to Wakefield Prison. He disliked the transfer and made it clear he wanted to return to Broadmoor. One afternoon in 1978, Maudsley killed 2 fellow prisoners at Wakefield Prison. His first victim of the day was Salney Darwood, a murderer convicted of manslaughter of his wife. Maudsley had invited Darwood to his cell, where he garroted and stabbed him before hiding his body under his bed. He then attempted to lure fellow prisoners into his cell, but all refused. Maudsley then prowled the wing, hunting for a second victim, eventually cornering and stabbing fellow prisoner Bill Roberts to death. He hacked at Roberts' skull with a makeshift dagger and smashed his head against a wall. Maudsley then claimed to walk into the prisoner's officer's room, placed the dagger on the table, and told them that the next roll call would be a little too short.